Okay, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Chrissy Mayer podcast, SiriusXM producer. She currently working on Entertainment Weekly Live.
That's correct.
With Jessica Shaw and Dalton Ross on Stars 109. Formerly and also currently one of the producers or the producer of the Chipperson Podacast on the Riotcast Network. And you used to work with Jay Thomas.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Cristina.
Thank you for having me. Hi, Chrissy. It's so good to see your face.
Yes, you too. Oh my gosh. So you're in Pennsylvania. You had this grueling commute. Like for as long as I've known you, it's like you're like the only person I know you're not the only person I know who's got a longer commute than me, but perhaps like you would say, you know, I'd see you at the Chip show and you'd be like, oh, this was like, what was it, at least 3 hours or sometimes 2 hours to get home?
So it's a 2.5 hour commute from door to door. That means like car to the bus to the walk to the work, right?
Yeah.
And now it's bed to the next room, and it's awesome, but also I hate it. I don't know how to feel about it. Like I don't miss the bus whatsoever, but I miss being in studio. I don't like doing radio from my basement. What kind of fun is that, you know?
Yeah, it's nice because no commute. And for me personally, I'm like, I like getting like ready to have a day. It's like there's something exciting about like going into the city and like you don't know like what's gonna happen. It's like I'll probably have the same lunch every day, but like there's something great about like getting into New York City and
who's going to try to spit in my mouth at the Port Authority today? I don't know.
Whose sperm is going to make its way onto my head at the Port Authority? Yeah, that's one thing I'm sure you don't miss is like the gnarly Port Authority.
Yeah, like the biggest thing I'd say that I don't miss is seeing bare feet where the pigeons hang out. Like for some reason, those two things together really fuck me up.
You just don't like feet and pigeons.
Yeah, and like these feet are like shoes, right? Like these are like hard feet, right?
Like
and
a layer of crust, like home.
Yeah, there's a whole soul under there that just, I mean, you could step on a nail and you won't feel it.
Yeah.
And so that combined with, like a dirty Port Authority pigeon just zipping around. I of course we have coronavirus. Like, what do you mean? This is where it's from.
I mean, I would hope that at this point it's got the Port Authority, like all the other subways and train stations, has gotten a deep clean. Hopefully,
not good enough. Not gonna matter.
Enough.
No, never gonna be good enough. Gonna burn it down.
There's so many memories. Like there's so much just like garbage, like in the seams, like seeped in. But yeah, so on one hand, you probably like not having to commute, and I figured this new routine for you would be less stressful and less work because that's how it seems for most people that are working remotely.
It's so weird. Like, I feel like I work harder now and more hours now than I ever did. Like, mostly because I have somebody here, like my husband's here, that he's like, can you stop checking your email? Like, I do it all day long. I'm not even realizing I'm doing it.
Wow.
So I kind of miss that workflow more so than this one. Cause like I have like Sunday scaries every day, it seems.
Even during quarantine.
Yeah, because there's like a confidence about you when life is normal, right? And now life is just like all over the place and you never know where you're going to get. And I'm just like, I don't know, like maybe the bus was okay.
You'd ever think you'd find yourself missing the bus?
Gross. Like, never.
Wow. So that must be frustrating. Like so your husband, he's not in the entertainment industry at all. He's not at all in entertainment.
Normal job, doesn't even have a Twitter account or an Instagram. It's a dream come true. He's outside building a deck right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like real normal stuff happening over here.
I can't wait to see your husband. Does your husband has a big deck or middle-sized deck?
I'll send you a deck pic.
I would love a deck pic. That's what I was getting.
But he worked from home anyway. So that was his thing. So he's good at it,
What does he do, or like as much as you can say?
He works for a company that is like that you would outsource for like software needs and like all kinds of things to get your business up and running. And he's like in sales but not in sales. And he's like a take your clients out for steak dinners kind of guy.
So he's got his working from home routine down pat. It's like, it's a well-run routine for him.
He's like, babe, calm down. It's fine. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm like, no, it needs to work.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That must get like tough too, because like I know me and my boyfriend are always constantly checking our phones for social media, for emails, because he's in comedy too, and but we both, you know, have had day jobs. We both like are into social media, so it's like we have similar phone habits. We both play Pokemon Go, so so that must be tough, because I know that if I were in that situation and like the guy that I was with was like, yeah, just can you not check your phone so much, I would feel like, oh man, like am I just sort of being selfish here, or I'm being like, you know.
Yeah. Like sometimes he'll be like, which Twitter is that? Is that your Twitter or the show's Twitter? I'm like, it's the show's. He's like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know, because it just gets to be so consuming. And then you forget like, oh, all of a sudden it's 6:00 and my head's been buried in my phone all day.
Do you get the screen time reports?
No, I do not.
I got to figure out a way to shut them off, because I think one flashed up yesterday for me and it said 8 hours and something minutes. And I was like, oh, that's
well, I don't need to see that or when to breathe. I'm not interested. Like, pipe down, peanut gallery. I've got this. I don't need the phone to like dictate my whole life. It's too much.
I did sign up for the Calm app, which is like, might be a waste of money, but at 10 p.m. every night, I get a text like, how are you feeling? And I always think it's a person, and I'm like, oh, it's the app. The app cares. The app is checking in. But yeah, interesting. So how there's more work for you right now. Is it because you feel like you have to do more work?
It's all on myself. Yeah, like I'm, you know, giving myself extra, I think, just because I feel like, well, I mean, I'm here and it's open. Might as well tend to it, right? So
yeah,
but I think everybody needs to learn like management of that sort of thing, and like when it's okay when you're working from home to not be working, you know, like it's like I think it'll take some getting used to, like anything else, and then before you know it, we're gonna just live in a pod and we'll never get to hug again, and we'll be used to it.
Oh, do you think so? Do you think this is just a never ever going back to anything normal again?
I don't know. I think that we're going to go back. We're going to slowly peak into normal, and then like it's going to flare up again like a herpes.
Like another wave, right? Like people like to keep comparing it to the 1918 influenza pandemic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course it's going to happen, right? Like they say you can hang out in groups less than 10. Okay, but what if like somebody in that group has it? Then it doesn't matter how many people are in the group. Somebody has it. Now everybody has it. Nobody knows anything. So we're just going to like roll it out, see what happens. More people will unfortunately probably get sick or lose their lives, and then, you know, it's going to just keep like a snowball effect until we have a vaccine, I guess, or maybe there's another pill that we could take that won't work and hopefully won't kill us. I don't know.
Have you been it sounds like have you been feeling frustrated with like what seems like a lack of information, or one day they're telling us this, the next week masks are good, and then in the beginning they were saying don't wear masks, in the beginning they were saying make sure all the masks go to the medical people, and now it's like you can't go into a store without one.
Yeah, I don't like how there's no one place to go and get good information, or that there's nobody that's setting a good example for us to have good information. I don't like that my mom that lives in Arizona, who is a baby boomer with like, you know, a lower immune deficiencies, gets to go and get a pedicure and I don't. Like, why?
Really?
Where's the consistency across, you know, like why is it okay for Arizona to get a mani-pedi? I don't understand.
I would love a
mani-pedi. And then how do I keep her contained? And I'm like, Mom, you can't go out. She's like, I'm fine. How do you know you're fine? Nobody knows we're fine. So, you know, and also I'm standing in line at Home Depot like 4 out of 5 days a week. So like
to get deck stuff, right?
Yeah. So I'm standing next to these people every single day. What's the difference if I stand next to them in, I don't know, a Panera? Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard because you think you're doing the right thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, this small group of people is getting together.
Have you been getting those invites for get-togethers with friends? Because you're out of the city. You're like in the burbs.
Yeah, everybody's real big on we'll light a bonfire and then we'll stand around the bonfire and the heat will kill it.
And the fire will protect us. We'll do spells.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it started out with birthday parades, right? And I
I
was
know. I never did one, but I
right.
knew people who were doing it. And I was like, I cannot believe you're actually driving by a person's house honking. I was like, I guess this is a thing they just do for kids, but I don't know. There's like a certain sadness to it, kind of, that you're going to drive by.
Yeah. Well, that's what's happening. So we have this birthday parade thing. I was a little iffy about that. And then all of a sudden it started to become, hey, maybe we should, just drop some food off on a porch. And then before you know it, we're talking at a distance. Now we're maybe saying hi at the car, but I'm standing outside the car. I don't know. Who knows? It's awful.
It is awful. I feel bad too, because it's like you're only supposed to wear a mask when you can't social distance. But like sometimes I'll be like running in the park or running like when there's no people around, and I'll see people like on their bikes and also running wearing masks. And it's like, but you're not next to anybody. But I know that they're just doing it, they think, to keep themselves safe. But I just worry, like, wow, it's hot some of these days. What if these people pass out? But, everyone's got to do what they think is the best for them.
I don't know what to do anymore. Honestly, I'm so confused by it all. So I just don't do anything, and I kind of follow the crowd. I'm no longer a leader. I'm just a follower.
And I remember, because Chip, and like switching gears, because I want to talk about Chip, he sort of retired the Chip Chipperson show before all the Corona stuff happened, right? Wasn't it? Did he?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it happened before everything. I don't even really have any dirt or information on it. Like, just as much as I find out about, shows the day of, I sometimes, he was just like, hey, listen, I'm putting it on hiatus for a little while. I was like, all right, well, keep me posted. I'm here for you. So if you need anything, let me know. And then it never kind of, it just kind of went away. We were quarantined, and then like a little angel from heaven, he dropped into my inbox one day and was like, hey, let's get you on the podcast. And I'm like, we're doing a podcast. I was so excited.
Aww.
And yeah, so it's not consistent. I don't know, when I'll be on next, or if they're, I'm not really sure how he's doing it. It's not the same as it once was, where, I was booking people on a regular basis for him. It's almost like he just calls me and
when he feels
he's handling it for now, I guess, until he maybe figures out what it is going to be. I'm not, I'm not really sure.
How did it make you feel when he sent you that first message of like, I'm going to put a pause on this?
Oh, I was devastated, because like with the loss of Jay Thomas and the loss of me working in comedy and radio, Chipperson was my outlet for all things hilariousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like hilarity and all that. So, I was really sad when that little chunk of my life disappeared for a second. And so I'm super happy that it gets to peek through every once in a while. It's good.
Yeah, and I'm sure also like the fans were thrilled, or I'm sure I wonder if there was a lot of people hitting him up like, you got to bring it back. Like,
yeah, I saw some stuff on social media, and everybody, like, it's like, we love you, we hate you. You know how Twitter is, or whatever.
Yeah.
Even if you hate Chip, you love Chip. Like, you love to hate Chip. So even the haters, I think, are happy to have his mug back on their screens.
So how long ago? When did Jay Thomas pass away?
Passed in 2017.
Okay, so yeah, this is coming up on 3 years already. Because I was trying to think, like, was he just
fresh wound?
Really? How long had you worked with him for?
9 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like a family member to me. We were like not just co-host and host, or producer and host, or right arm, left arm. He was like real family. Like, I know his whole family. We've spent holidays together. He knows my family. Yeah, that sort of thing.
That's so yeah. It's like, how do you even begin to?
The biggest shame is how genius he was and how underrated he was. And like, I'm biased to it, sure, but I think it was one of the greatest radio shows of all time. I mean, like nobody did radio like he did, you know, like you would watch him actually put together a segment on the spot in his head, and you just like sit there in amazement that he just put all of this together somehow.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he was such a pro at it. It was not like, I've worked with people now with, they need, like, not now, but like in my lifetime, that need like 40 pages of prep material. I mean, like you give Jay Thomas a prep sheet and he's like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, and it just, everything was gold. He knew how to take something so normal and make it so abnormal. And like, he knew how to take the absolute most crazy and just like give it to you on a silver platter, but without ever making anybody feel like they were less than, you know, like everybody was just part of the gang, no matter what you were. If you were like a, you know, a guy that lived on the sidewalk, or if you had a mansion in Bel Air, you were all part of the same gang. And he did that like no other.
So he didn't think he was like above anybody, and he's like, sounds like he was just,
true underdog, you know, like everything, like nothing. I mean, like he would get a sitcom, and then a sitcom of the same sort of thing would come up right after him, and then all of a sudden his shot was done. Like he was a true underdog, and he never said no to a gig. And that is the most important thing about him, was how humble he was. And we used to do this bit on the show where he would like read his residuals off to us, and he'd be like, 36 cents, you know, 47 cents. He played the Easter Bunny in the Santa Claus movie with Tim Allen, like got into 4 hours of makeup to be in an Easter Bunny costume. I mean,
wow.
The man is unbelievable. And like, thank God there are little bits and pieces of him all over the internet so that we can like love him forever. So
yeah. And you said he was good at putting together a bit. Like, do any examples of this stand out to you? Like anything that you remember that he took something and it was able to like?
I mean, he would just be reading an article on the air, but not reading it, and it would suddenly just turn into a story from, you know, him. Like it was, you know, and then and just like, it was unbelievable what he was able to do, you know, like what, I mean, he would turn like a whole bit and just a whole segment out of this one little email, you know, and it would just all just come together, or him screaming at the top of his lungs to a caller that calls in, get rid of him, I don't ever want you to call again. Like all of that just goes down in history. And then, you know, he would do celebrity interviews and they would tank. Like there's a famous Kevin Bacon interview on YouTube that's in 3 parts where he asks Kevin Bacon about Bernie Madoff, and Kevin's like, I don't want to talk about this. And Jay's like, well, fuck this one up, didn't I? And, you know, and he like, wow. I remember that day so perfectly, where I was sitting in my chair, white knuckling like my finger, like you could see my knuckles. I was just like, oh my God, this is so
a huge interview. Yeah.
So good for the radio. It was unbelievable.
To just like acknowledge an awkward moment like that, and just to be like, oh, all right, let's, almost like in the way, like sometimes I've seen like Mark Norman be on stage, like if something does, like the way he reacts to a bit not going over, like, oh, well, I guess I pissed this guy off, or like, I guess
everything was so brutally honest. And he taught me so much too he's like, people can figure out if you're bullshitting or not. Right. And like, he was just all about like the pure honesty of yourself. And so like it didn't matter that I was just like some idiot from Brooklyn. Like he took me in and then was like, oh, by the way, you sound like an idiot with that fucking accent. And
really?
That out of me. Yeah. And then like he gave me like a sense of, it's okay to be funny. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be made fun of, you know, that kind of thing. And so like I grew the thickest skin ever working with him, because he would like, we would be each other's punching bags, you know?
Wow.
So it was awesome. So much fun.
So you're saying that you had a worse Brooklyn accent at some point?
You know, it's so funny. They just recently on Twitter, it started floating around the old stuff from the Opie and Anthony show when I first started working at Sirius. And I was on that show with Bobo. There was a bit where we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and the whole thing where he was calling me, you know, leaving voice messages and wants to take me to the Queens Motor Inn so that he can go pussy diving and eat a cheeseburger. Okay. So it's like this whole long running bit. And I'm listening to one of the clips on YouTube because I said to my husband, I was like, you should listen to this. This is really funny. This is when Bobo, because he's met Bobo. This is when Bobo wanted to go pussy diving. And he's like, what? And I was like, just listen. And we were both laughing hysterically because my accent was so bad.
Wow.
And it really is a testament to Jay and what he did. Like, he was like, stop. He was like, it's not coffee, it's coffee. It's not coffee, kind of thing. So.
Which is tough because as a Long Islander, like, my accent used to be way worse too. And then for a brief time, I thought I really wanted to be a news reporter. So I would like work on sort of dulling down certain words. But then, of course, you get around family, you have a few drinks, like all of a sudden it's coffee again. And you're like...
My mother puts an A on everything, and it drives me crazy. She's
Isn't
like,
it
listen, I'll
Italian
call you tomorrow. And I'm like, tomorrow. It's an O and a W. I get so mad. I'll call you tomorrow. We'll talk about it. And I'm like, it never leaves her, you know. She's like living in Arizona, being all Miss Brooklyn from the porch. I don't know.
So she's like, yeah, super Brooklyn, living in Arizona. Hopefully, I mean, it sounded like Arizona didn't get as many cases. And
no, and they live in a retirement community, like one of those Sun City, Fun City places.
My dad too. My mom and dad moved out to Naples, Florida, into like this kind of posh enclosure, like enclosed. Yeah, like we didn't grow up with money. Like we did not, like, I don't know. They hid it from us for sure, because now they're like living great in Florida in this gated community or whatever. And it's so nice. And like, my mom passed like almost 3 years ago, and so now it's just my dad. Oh yeah, he got another girlfriend like that.
Oh yeah. What do you think? I'm gonna make my own eggs?
Oh my God, it maddened me so much. And then they kind of broke up, and now in quarantine they're kind of back together. But
is
only
she younger, older? What's the deal?
He is. He's like, I think I should know how old he is. I think he's like 73. She's a few years younger. My dad's in excellent shape. Like he's not like jacked, but he's cut up. Like he was always very physical. Like growing up, he was a landscaper, and then when I was in high school, he somehow, I don't know, just knew the right person, got a job as a Teamster. Not because he has any like social skills whatsoever. He had a truck driving license and just lucked out, because I remember him being like, he was like in his 40s, like, I can't climb up trees anymore. And he didn't have like insurance. And then the three of us kids needed to go to college. So he did really luck out by getting the Teamster job. And then like looking back, I remember I was like, I'd be in college, communications major, so fascinated by like the movie and TV world. I'd visit him on set in the city sometimes, and he just would like, I would give him all these hints like, oh, introduce me to the PAs or something. And he just nothing. Not like I'm there to like kiss everybody's ass or whatever. Like, yeah, I would help myself some craft services. We'd take a walk around the block, and he'd be like, everybody, this is my daughter. And I'm like, Dad, nobody thinks we're fucking, come on, like. But what was the point of that? Oh yeah, it's that he's got like
his girlfriend.
He's decently in shape, and and he started dating this woman, and then that didn't work out because she liked to go, out a lot. Like she was a little bit bougier than him, I think. Like she was a little bit more like high class and museums and leisurely and maybe like yachty, and my dad is just like park ranger type, just
I get it.
So what was the point of that? Oh yeah, parents living in
Did your friends want to like fuck your dad when you were younger because he was like such a
no, not at all.
Oh, okay.
And I know that's a thing that happens a lot. Like it seems more like people want to fuck someone's mom, but I think my dad was like just not around so much. And like when he would just like, he'd be like in like head to toe green, like his green landscaping clothes, like covered in like wood chips and stuff. And
right. That's kind of hot though. I mean,
yeah, I guess in a way. He was like one of the last white landscapers of his time.
Nice.
He really is a German landscaper. Yeah. Did you have a DILF?
Ceilings. No. No way. No, sir. He's got a great personality though.
Good. You got to have one or the other. And we know which one my dad has.
That's right. Yeah, no. My dad for a while had alopecia, and it would like, his hair would like fall out in patches. And we're like, Dad, you could shave the rest of it because people are starting to wonder, right? Like, I mean, like they don't know how to approach you. Are you very sick? Are you kind of sick? Are you
attacked by an owl? What's going on?
Like a classic doesn't give any F's, and he's really into Hawaiian shirts now.
Oh my gosh. I think men just hit
week,
a certain age and they're just like, this is my life now.
I'm here for it. Let me tell you. He calls me like once a week, and I FaceTime with the top of his bald head. And then he holds up whatever Amazon or Kohl's purchase of a Hawaiian shirt that he's made. Chris, I got another one. So that's our weekly, check-in, making sure that he's fashionable and, still ticking away during the coronavirus while he is out and about, ignoring all signs of safety.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a boomer.
Is he in Arizona too?
Yeah, both of them. They're still married, still together.
Wow, good.
Like, I mean, I'm 40 gonna be this year. So
really? I would never ever would have guessed that.
Thank you. They'll be together 45 years this year. It's crazy.
Wow. Are you an only?
I'm an only.
Yeah.
That was enough. That was enough.
You are all that. You're all they needed. You don't seem like an only.
Really? I think that I'm pretty selfish. It's there.
Selfish is good
Stubborn,
though.
selfish, all those things.
Selfish is good though. You got to get what you need.
Yeah, I used to want a brother or sister real bad when I was a kid, and then you go through this phase where you're like, oh, actually, this is kind of cool. The inheritance goes to me. Ha! And then you hit like this weird age where you're like, well, my parents aren't going to be around that much longer. I have to be the one to deal with this like by myself. It's that I need I want somebody to like share that pain. You know what I mean? Like nobody in the world's going to be able to know what it's like. And as I get older, I'm not trying to bum you out, but as I get older, I'm like, oh, like this is happening and I'm by myself, so now I'm mad at them again for not giving me a baby brother or sister.
Aww.
Find myself
it's not too late. Maybe they could.
It's definitely too late. I mean, she was walking through my first wedding with one of those fans going through the menopause. So we're done. Yeah.
Aww.
That's my favorite picture of my first wedding is my mother and my father walking me down the aisle, and my mother not hiding the neon green battery operated fan that she was holding as we were walking down the aisle.
Classy. She couldn't get a white one or anything, huh?
Classy. Neon green. That's
neon
my father.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you figure like when you get older, I mean, it sucks. Like, yeah, I feel like I just lost my mom and I went through, but I have an older brother, an older sister. And like my dad was like really controlling so much of what went on. Like we weren't getting the right information. And even though and then nothing was planned, like there was no, and this was like no wisp of corona, like how, people die now and they can't have a funeral because corona. It's like my mom died and like my dad just didn't plan anything. And it's like she had cancer. It's like, it was like there were months,
not a surprise.
There were years where he could have like started planning a few things. I think he was just in such like deep denial. He didn't plan anything. And then I was like, well, I got to do something because all her friends were in New York. She had moved to Florida, but I was like, so I planned some kind of a memorial to have in New York with her friends. And like we talked and like people gave speeches. It was really great. And I like patted myself on the back. I was like, wow, I have all this like comedy hosting, producing experience. Like I was able to get all that together, and all the while everybody else in my family was like, nobody's gonna come, we shouldn't do this, they're not gonna come all the way out. And it's like, sure enough, like people drive out 4 hours to say goodbye to a friend,
Yeah, definitely. That's I don't know what you mean about not being able to, like, during this time. My grandmother passed away not because of corona, but during corona.
Oh wow. So really recently,
like a month ago. And she was 96 and she lived a really good life, and we all kind of knew it was coming. And like she made it pretty clear that like every time you would see her, she'd be like, I don't know why he's keeping me here, talking about God. I don't know why he's keeping me. I don't want to be here anymore. All my friends are dead. Like, let me go, like that sort of thing. She was very practical about it. And so it's sad because we were never able to give her like any kind of a send off or anything, but when I think about it, it's almost like these are the times that we're in. After, everything is said and done, maybe we can come up with something. I just don't know when or what that'll be. But, like, we got to find a way to honor this crazy-ass Sicilian lady, right, that says Pinot Grigio all the time, right? Like,
Pinot Grigio?
One out for her somehow, that sort of thing. Yeah, the really weird thing is right after she passed away, we heard a smash in my garage. And so every Christmas we would give my grandmother a case of Pinot Grigio, her favorite kind, at the Santa Maria.
But she
And
called it peanut, right? Like
Pinot Grigio.
Oh my God.
And so we gave her cases of it because we're like, when you're in your 90s, what are you going to do? Just get fucking sloshed all day.
In
like
90, you should be drinking wine,
right?
lunch and dinner.
Exactly. So, and she would yell at us every time and whatever. So when she passed away and we cleared out her stuff, there was still some bottles left over from the last case that we gave. So we all took one. And don't you know that something happened in my garage? It fell to the ground, smashed, like on its own.
I'm telling you, of wine. Or
it was one bottle of wine on a shelf. Nothing else fell. No other this one bottle smashed to the ground. Crazy, right? I was like, Susie.
That is so a thing.
Susie is here. Yeah, totally. And I was her favorite grandchild, and my husband is her favorite, like, human.
I just got chills. That's
he's
so
like
sweet.
hanging around. Yeah. The only thing in my garage to just smash and break, and then my whole garage smells like Pinot Grigio. It's crazy.
And it's her favorite, and she breaks it.
Yeah. She's like, Oppa! I don't know. That's Greek. Whatever the Italians say.
So you've been producing in some form or another now for at least over maybe 15 years?
12 years. I think it's 12 years.
And you're a great producer, and what I've seen from everything you've done, you really hold it together. You're like such a pro, but you're also great. You're great on camera when you need to be. Like when you yeah, when you have you ever thought about being more in front of the camera?
So I've done some things here and there, like earlier on when I was in my 30s, like little stupid things, internet shows, talking head stuff, whatever. And then a lot of people have said, why don't you do your own podcast? You're going to get your own show. You should have your own show. You should do your own podcast. And for me, like, I don't feel like I want the Cristina Palumbo show because, like, as a producer, I know what you need to have a show, right? The long game of it. And like, am I really that interesting? I don't think I am, like I truly don't think that I can provide enough content to be interesting enough to have the Cristina Palumbo show. However, I am a great second mic.
Yeah. Okay.
So like, I'm really comfortable there, and I feel like people need to know their place, right? So like for my perfect example of this is Regis and Kelly, right? Regis and Kelly was awesome because Kelly was right there next to Regis, the star. It was awesome and great. As soon as it became Kelly and whoever, kind of fell off the rails, right? Because she's the second mic. She's just good. Like, you just have to know your place and know your role. And I just feel like my role is not the Cristina Palumbo show. I don't know. It doesn't feel natural or right to me.
It's interesting because before I started doing any kind of podcast, I thought the exact same thing. I'm not interesting enough. Like nobody wants to see, no one wants to be looking at this multiple times a week or even once a week. Yeah.
No, me, not you, me.
It was a big, like, I felt the same way. So I mean, I know that's like it's a common feeling.
Yeah.
But it's probably hard to do both. Just what I've seen from comedy producing, there's really great producers and then there's really great performers. And sometimes it seems like when someone tries to do both, it's like you're kind of giving each half of your.
Like, I've hosted friends' comedy shows before. That goes really, really well. I love doing that. But like, I'm just not a big, the main host kind of gal, I guess is how I've always felt. I don't know. It's weird.
What do you think makes you such a good second mic?
I don't know. I just started therapy recently, right? And
congrats!
Thank you.
Yeah. How deep in are you?
What would you say?
How deep in are you? Like how long?
Oh, like one session. This is
okay.
Okay. and one session in, one booked for next week. So, the things that I'm starting to learn about myself is, just, I don't know. I need to change my narrative, and I need to see myself in a different light, sort of thing. And so, like, I kind of always feel like in a I don't deserve to be here sort of way. I don't know why that is, but maybe the therapist will help me get there. Absolutely. But I think that's part of my I don't think I belong here in this chair sort of feeling. So who knows, maybe after a couple of sessions, I'm gonna be like, I'm a star, baby. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But
That's interesting. Yeah,
I'm
therapy's
here
the
to
best.
learn about myself.
Therapy's the best, and it sucks because I tried so hard to get my mom into therapy, like just like after she was diagnosed, but like I'll never forget, because it's like the most helpful thing, and like I just feel like baby boomers as a whole are not a self-reflective generation. They're not there's such a bad stigma on therapy. They think like, oh, it means you're crazy, oh, it means you're weak. And it sucks.
Yeah.
And I had an appointment set up, I'll never forget it, like for my mom. Her phone was ringing, my dad picked it up, who's this? No, we're not interested in that. And then he hung up, and I was like, my heart sank, because I felt like I was that close. But then again, like, she was never somebody who, if she was like, fuck you, I'm doing therapy, she was never that person. She could never stand up for herself, or stand up to my dad, especially not like kind of in beginning and to be in her like weakened state. But like therapy's been great, like, and that's when I started going myself when she was diagnosed. So I think I've been going like at least 4 years, maybe 5 years with the same. Wow, could it be that long?
Like the longest relationship ever.
Like 4, it could be. I think it's got to be at least 4 years.
Yeah.
And just she's been very good. Like, yeah, the same person is hearing you talk long enough. Like, yes, people close to you can also help you see your patterns, but you need an objective person who you can just say whatever you want. You're not worried about hurting their feelings. You're not, you can just be like brutally honest. And
well, for me, like there was a lot of loss in a short amount of time that I never fully dealt with, right? And so that was starting to like mess with me. And then I think being in quarantine, just with all this time to kind of like think about stuff, and just started to make me, buzzy in my head. And like at some point you don't want to feel buzzy anymore, right? And so like, why not? Because I need somebody to help me kind of like navigate how to feel, like not how to feel, but about like things that I can't control. How do I navigate around that and still make it work? You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, instead of being this inside, like having a volcano of rage that I can't, let out. And then all of a sudden one day I'm just like bashing my head through a wall. We don't want to get there.
No, right? We don't want to get there.
No, we want to keep all the walls.
Keep all the walls as they are. Is it more like it's the things you can't control that get to you?
Yeah, I think so. But like it's not like normal stuff that you can't control. It's just like having the rug ripped out from under you. Like, Jay dies of cancer. My parents move across the country and I have no family here. My dog dies within the same year, within 3 months of that. My apartment disappears because some girl wanted to be your kind, all those kinds of things. Like it's, like
it's a lot of change in a short period of time.
My job is no longer the same job that I had before. While I still love my job, that was like my baby. You know what I mean? Like I grew up with it 9 years.
It was with Jay.
Yeah. So it's just like, you're dealing with all kinds of loss and grieving but not knowing how to do any of it. And then just bottling it all up. And then, one by one, you're like starting to know, like, in my life, I never pictured myself being, married with kids, living in the suburbs with a cat, right? But that's what I am right now. I'm a dog person, and now I have 2 kids and a cat. It's just all kinds of stuff that like you need to learn how to kind of like control your feelings and not get all bent out of shape because it didn't go your way. And that's what I'm hoping to learn. That and weed. It's all helping.
Weed is great.
Thank God for the weed.
I had too much. I must say this to everybody that I talk to, because I'm not a big weed smoker. And by that, I mean, like, I'm not really buying my own weed. And I went to LA in March and I got a huge bag from doing Kill Tony. And it had like many, and they're like, it's legal down there. So everything was perfectly portioned out in its own little container, like its own little joint container, the gummies. It was what?
It's so beautiful.
Oh, it was such a beautiful thing. And my tolerance is still pretty low. Like I need 3 or 4 pulls. I'm good. I have to give it to somebody. And like the other day I brought a little one just like on a walk with my boyfriend, and I got too silly. Like I just was like, I was in a different world. I was like, the things I'm saying, am I making sense? But it's good. It's a good way to disconnect. And I just signed up to do this like 21-day meditation challenge. Yes, I did miss the first day last night. I'm doing it with my sister who lives in Vegas. And I really like, I feel you on the having no family around you feeling, because in such a short period of time for me, like my parents moved to Florida, like my mom was diagnosed with cancer. My parents had this plan to move to Florida. They still moved to Florida. All the while we're going, what the fuck? You're moving away from the better hospitals in New York to go to Florida,
and your family?
Away from the family. We, and now we feel guilty that we're not visiting you enough. And my dad actually like made me feel guilty about not visiting enough. It's like, what do you want me to quit like all my jobs and just go? But that's like a whole nother thing. And so, and then, and also in the same couple of years, maybe 2-3 years, but 2 years really, my sister moves to Vegas from New York. So she's other side of the country. Years before that, my brother had been in North Carolina a while, so he was already away. But my sister was like my last person. Like she lived right by the train in Rockwell Center, so I could get off the train, I could walk to her apartment, flop on the couch. It'd be like my little away. Plus it was still like, oh, this is the hometown like I grew up in. It was like the last little anchor. And then once she moved away, I was like, wow, I really truly feel like I have nobody. Like, yeah, you have your friends and like your boyfriend, of course, but like it's nothing can replace that feeling of like, oh, I have family nearby.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it definitely messed me up for a little bit. And then, like my parents are so independent and I'm also the same way. So like there's part of me that I'm not clearly, I get it why they need to move and like be, they want a warmer climate. I totally understand. I don't want to live in Pennsylvania either. You know what I mean? But like, there's part of me that's also like, well, now I'm just like not going to be around you at all while we're living. And, like eventually, we don't have enough, we don't have time. Who knows what's going on? If they lived here, maybe I could have dropped, a pie off to their porch, but I can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. Like sometimes it gets to me, and my husband's got a huge family, which is awesome. And they all live really close to here, which is also awesome. But I'm also an only child and an introvert. So like a lot of times it's like, there's so many of them sometimes where like, I almost get overwhelmed. I love having them around, but at the same time, I'm like not used to having so many people around at once. So it's like a crazy adjustment period or whatever, which I'm doing smoothly. Thanks to the weed.
Good for you. It's a lot. It's like, it's so much change. It's interesting.
But it's fun.
Because when I was little, me and my sister, we would talk about, and this was like our fantasy, like we both, no one ever dreamed about like moving away. It's like we would both live in Garden City, which was like the next town over from Rockwell Center. Not only were we both living close by, we lived next to each other, and we both had kids, and we were both like living close to home, best friends, kids. Like we both were like, we're on board with this. And now it's like neither of us have kids. My sister's been engaged for almost 2 years now. Like what the fuck is happening there? I don't know. I have no kids. I got to figure out like real fucking soon if I do or not. Because I can actually hear ticking, but it's so weird to be like, you never thought your life would turn out like, my boyfriend has a son and he comes over and it's like, you just never think like what you think you're going to be. And that's part of therapy too, is like, how do you reconcile?
Right. Like I thought I was going to live in a place where there would be sidewalks and street lamps. And now that's not the case.
You don't have sidewalks in Pennsylvania?
No, or street lamps. So I'm just, trying to adjust, and hopefully therapy will help with all of that. But, I'm for it so far.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate.
And there's something pretty great. Like I think this quarantine is waking people up to the possibility of remote working. And is there any part of you that, okay, if things go back to as normal as they can, is there part of you that's like, oh, maybe I would consider working from home a couple days a week?
Yeah, I at first when this all started, I was like, this is not for me. Get me out of here. Take me back to the city. And now, like with each passing day, I get more and more freaked out about one thing or another. Right. So, like, I don't want to sit on a bus with people, even though we'll be spread out. Like that schedule for me it's going to be limited no matter what. And then what are there going to be like, are we going to be sitting in plexiglass pods. I don't know what's happening. So, I mean, I'm fine with being here for now. Right now, my main concern is somebody give me a dog. I just need a dog.
I want a
And
dog
then
so bad.
I'll be fine. Like I'll give me a dog and I'll stay here forever. I don't need to ever go back to the city again. Whatever.
I hope your husband is listening to this. Maybe you could shout again into the hallway. I just would like a dog right now.
He knows. He's on board for the dog too, but it's hard to find a dog during a pandemic. Either they're all taken or they're all dogs that you can't necessarily or don't necessarily feel comfortable bringing into your home with 2 small children. You know what I mean?
You don't want a dog with like 2 wheels for legs. I mean,
I would take a 2-wheeled dog. I would.
What?
But like a dog that I don't know its history, that it was abandoned and perhaps huge and, maybe has a, tendency
Violent.
to be, I don't even know. I don't want to risk that in this pandemic where I can't take my kid to the hospital because, they're not going to let us in without a temperature. I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
Right.
No hospital visits. That's the rule. So
you haven't gone to the hospital at all for either.
No.
Then the kids.
Nobody's allowed to go to the hospital. If you get a cut, you hold that together until you stop bleeding and then go to bed. I don't want to hear it. Nobody's going to the hospital.
That's smart. I feel like hospitals have always been like just a sort of like cesspool of germs.
Yeah. We don't need to be doing that.
Yeah. So how's your husband's level of anxiety about everything?
He's fine. He's more of a germaphobe than I am, I would say, on that sort of front. So, like, he doesn't love, standing in line with a mask on next to people so much. I don't love it either, but I don't mind it as much as he does, I guess you can say. But he's fine. I mean, we're both pretty good. Like, during this whole quarantine, I'm not trying to sound like, oh, look at us, but like, we haven't had any major issues. We built a deck, didn't have a fight once.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, like I know we're newlyweds and whatever, but I think that we got this. Like he's the least annoying to me of all the people that I've had to deal with in this whole quarantine, and that's
wow.
Yeah, like
you might be the only.
It's weird
wife. I mean, like who's saying
crazy.
that?
And I mean, the crazier his hair gets, the more I love it. Like he looks like a dreamer and I'm for it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just like, everybody's like, oh, I want to get out. I can't wait to see people. I'm kind of fine being.
You're like, I'm overwhelmed by too many people.
Like, I don't really want to go out that badly. I'm cool here with you. Good stuff. I don't know. Yeah.
I every day I ask my boyfriend if he was ready for me to give him a haircut yet, and every day he says no. and
are you good at it?
I am good at it. My sister had like a pixie cut when she was like a brand new teacher, so it was probably like aughts, early aughts, and I would cut. She had like a short little pixie cut, and I just would trim it up, and it's pretty good. Like I cut bangs. I mean, enough to follow the line of what's already there. But yeah.
He's not into it. I've put my foot down. Like, I want no cutting until he actually has to see a customer. I don't know how long that's going to go, because
then that's kind of what's the point. Does he do any Zooms?
He won't show his face when he Zooms for work.
How mysterious.
Like yeah. He has like one of those profile, those like headshots.
Oh,
done. Yeah.
He could like make himself a potato like that lady.
Right. Something like that. Yeah. But I feel like when in your life are you going to be able to get it this crazy? Let's see what your potential is. Because it's never been this long in his whole life. I say, let's go for it. Right. Yeah.
Dye your hair. I'm at the point, like these roots are like, 2 months old. It's like dark blonde.
It's good for 2 months though.
Yeah. Cause I I went and got it dyed when I was in LA in March. And then and so now I'm at the point like, okay, do I embrace the ombre?
Yes, I say embrace.
Yeah, just do it. Or do I get one of these boxes of like home hair dye and just like try? Every day I feel differently because I don't want to look unkempt.
I've never dyed my hair before in my life, so I'm not the right person to talk about this. I don't know. I feel like I would not be able to handle my own dying situation. And I also feel like I don't have a lot of patience to wait it out. And so I'll pull the trigger too early and then I don't know what would happen. Like it's just all too risky for me. I don't know if I'm the right person, but I say embrace the quarantine because we're all in this together, right? Like we're all in the same boat.
That's what the signs say on the road.
Like,
yeah.
When can you ever look your worst while also helping the country? Never. So just embrace it. Right?
Yeah.
I haven't worn jeans since this whole thing started. And the only time I put on a real bra is when I talk to you guys on Zoom, because it makes me feel like it's not even because I'm not trying to show anything. I just feel more professional with a real bra on, right?
There's something about a real bra that's like, that makes your boobs are up and alert. Therefore your whole body is up.
Right. I'm alert right now. I'm protected. I'm secure. I'm embraced. It's good.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why I would like wear high heels on stage, or even high heels to do like my compound media show. Cause it's like, oh, I'm standing up. I'm uncomfortable. I'm alert, you know?
Right. I'm a woman. Hear me roar.
I want everyone to know that if you could say, God, I should have mentioned this when we were talking about Jay, but now that I'm thinking of it again, what do you think were the top 3 things that made him great, or that other radio folks could learn from watching him?
Top 3 things that made him great. Well, he was fearless. Would say whatever, whenever. Didn't matter if he was going to get in trouble for it. He was a huge risk taker. There's one thing. Second thing I would say is he sees the beauty in everything. Have you met Ira? You've met Ira, the weatherman, right? Crazy weatherman. I've brought him on Chip before. Hello, everybody.
Oh, I know who he is, but I've never met him.
Right. So he was like an old radio listener long time ago, and Jay met him in the lobby of a radio station while he was there to pick up tickets that he won for free on the air. And like he's this crazy guy from Co-op City who does Zumba at a Jewish senior center, you know, and he's like a gambling freak, and he likes to tell you the weather. And Jay saw the beauty in that and turned it into something. So his ability to see, you know, that like rainbow beyond the storm was unbelievable. And like I said before, I think like his willingness to just work and his work ethic was so strong. I mean, there was nothing that he would say no to. And he, you know, taught you such great lessons through any of that, you know, like there are so many people that are, they think they're above something, or they think that they're better than what they actually are. And they can't, you know, produce half of what he was able to do, you know, in an hour. And it's just like, I don't know. I see it all the time. It's so hard to, because I always wind up comparing, and I shouldn't, because there is no comparison, right? Like they should be in 2 different boxes. And like he was just so, he was meant for it. He was meant for broadcasting. Like he was great on the screen. He was great, you know, on the stage, but he was really, truly 100% meant for radio.
Wow.
And I find that to be like such a unique thing, you know, like Howard's amazing. Howard Stern is amazing. He's a great interviewer. The thing that Jay always said about Howard was that Howard had more balls than he did. Like Howard actually took it and ran with it. Jay was always too much of a company guy. I mean, he was fearless, but he was also a company man. Yeah, I'll do whatever you want. Anything you want. Yeah, sure. I'll make you happy. Whatever you want.
Like
where Howard would, where Howard would be like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it this way. And then he'd get fired or fined or whatever the case may be. And he would just push through. And that's why he's the king of all media. Right. But like Jay was definitely such a relatable guy that even, you know, Joe in his truck felt like he was friends with Jay. And he would even sign, people would call the show all the time. Hey, can you get me a signed headshot? And like Jay would sign it like, hey, great to see you at the blah, blah. Like he would like make it like that they just ran into each other at the deli, even on a headshot. And that's just like so beautiful that he would be that guy, you know, that he would be so relatable and not hold himself up. And I think for other broadcasters, you know, I feel like a lot of them take themselves a little too seriously, and they don't let go of things. Like you got to kind of loosen the gears up a little bit. And a lot of people have a hard time letting their producer produce them. You know, everybody wants to hold on to something so tight, and everybody wants to be in control of something so tight. And it's
talent does.
Yeah. And, you know, like somebody like me who's been doing this for 12 years, like, let me do it for you. And, you know, you're going to get what you want instead of, you know, you're holding on to everything and you, cause you want to make sure that you're doing it right. Trust your team. And, you know, and I think that that is super important. And also support them, you know, like he was the best person in the world to like cheer me on while also like dragging me down and being like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But also like, yes, this is, you know what I'm saying? So like, you just have to, I think being good to your team is a huge part of it. And we would fight, he and I, like, it's crazy.
Really?
Like,
Wow.
oh yeah. Like I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking? And like times on the air, like there were moments. It was real. It was like reality TV, but not this reality bullshit TV that's produced by producers. It was like really happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was great.
What do you say to people who think Howard is not the king of all media anymore? He's lost his edge. He sort of, you know, kowtows to celebrities and he's like less edgy. Like, what would you
I mean,
say?
I think that there's a transition. People change. Things happen. I mean, he's not 30 years old anymore, you know? Like he's a celebrity now. So I feel like, you know, as much as he wants to be the guy that's nobody likes me, nobody wants to hang out with me, nobody wants to talk, everybody wants to hang out with you. You're freaking Howard Stern, you know? Like, of course, that's crazy talk. But I feel like, you know, everybody changes and you're not necessarily going to get the same thing that you got 30 years ago. And why do you kind of want that? I mean, for me, when I listen to shows like Howard or shows like Jim and Sam, my favorite part of those talk shows are the not celebrity stuff, right? Like you can hear or see celebrities anywhere, anytime, any day of the week. But like the stuff that happens behind the scenes, the stuff that happens with the staff, that's always my favorite stuff. So as long as there's still some of that, then I think I'm game for it. But that's all my favorite stuff.
Which makes me, that's comforting for me to hear because it just makes me think, oh, wow, maybe it's not always about who's the best get. Maybe it's about pulling back the curtain on myself or the show or like the other people at Compound or the booth guys. It's like, it's nice to like take the pressure off. Oh, it's always got to be the best get possible for your guest.
Yeah. I mean, that's my personal opinion as far as talk radio is concerned. I get where we are as like, you know, where we are in the world with like, you know, the 24/7 news cycle and everybody's got to get content out there and blah, 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 blah. I get all of that, believe me. But as far as like me being a fan of talk radio, that's the kind of radio that I love so much, is like just the nitty gritty, crazy stuff that happens behind the scenes on the show. Like when I was with Jay, Garrett, you know, Garrett from.
Yeah. I love Garrett.
He was the producer with me on that show for 6 of the years, I think, that I worked on the show. And my favorite stuff with him was always like finding out, you know, just what disgusting thing he did that day, or, you know what I'm saying? Or like, just anything happening within the staff that is vulnerable, or just something that you wouldn't expect to know about a person that you work with, you know, like all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I like that the best.
Yeah. I like that too. Yeah. It's cool.
I mean, everybody can hear about Gwyneth Paltrow's goop. Who the fuck cares? I don't.
Oh my gosh, she has a whole TV series out. They have a Goop network. There was an episode that I mentioned, and they brought up when I did Kurt Metzger's show, and it was the episode where like these women are all sitting in a circle and they're trying to get comfortable with their bodies because they're trying to like either have orgasms or have better orgasms, right? And it was the episode with Betty Dodson, who's like this huge old school hippie feminist, like self-love guru, right? But there were scenes where Betty Dodson, who's like in her 80s at this point, is like, you know, looking over the shoulder. This woman's completely naked, looking in a mirror. She's touching herself, trying to get herself, and Betty's like overlooking her shoulder, like coaching her through it. And the first time I watched it, I was like, oh wow, look, as I watched it with my boyfriend, he's like, this is disturbing. Look at this creepy old lady. And I was like, I don't know, really. And then Kurt Metzger and his whole show, we're watching it. They're the same reaction, like, what the fuck? Like, that's too close. she's trying to teach her to love herself. And I was like, all right, yeah, I guess this is, and then it was like all these naked women in a circle.
Oh my God.
And that's goop.
No thanks. I mean, it's cool, whatever. That part. Isn't there like a candle that smells like your vagina? I don't know. There's a lot going on.
There's a vag candle, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we all need something. We all need
Right. I'd rather see, Mikey Fig's nipples.
And we do see plenty of those. Cristina, thank you so much for coming on the pod. Where can people find you? What are you working on now? What's other than the deck?
Twitter, I'll send you that deck pic.
Yes, deck pics.
On Twitter and Instagram, it's at Cristina Palumbo. There's no H in Cristina. And you can hear the show that I produce on SiriusXM 109, 2 to 4 East, or on SiriusXM On Demand.
Awesome.
EW Live, it's called. See, this is why I'm not first mic. I don't know what to say. Just listen to whatever you want. Follow me on those things. You'll want.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cristina. I gotta get that deck pic.
So good to see you.
See ya. Bye.